Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this really fun webinar, partnered up here with SellerPass and VinSuite. I'm Sarah Elliman, the co-founder and CEO of SellerPass, and I'm joined with the lovely Molly Spurgeon, the marketing coordinator for VinSuite. Good morning, Molly. How are you?
Good morning. Good.
Excellent. Well, are you as excited as I am to share all this amazing selling information with our guests today?
Yes, super excited.
Excellent. Well, we want to welcome everybody here. We have some really great selling tips and tricks to make this spring and summer season one of your best sales seasons ever. Some of this information may be things you already know about, but haven't practiced in a while. And hopefully a lot more is things you haven't considered. But at the end of the day, we want you to get the absolute most out of your selling season. And with the tasting rooms reopening, now is the time to sharpen those sales tools and make sure that your whole team is polished. So let's get started. So we're going with like a top 10 sales tips and tricks on how to increase your ROI and your sales bottom line. And these come from a history of in the trenches sales knowledge. My background, I have been in luxury retail. I have sold cars. I have worked in food service, you name it. I have been in some capacity of sales pretty much my whole life. And then if you think about it, most of us have, because no matter what you do in your companies, everybody at the end of the day is a salesperson, either selling your brand, sharing that information with everybody you meet, or you are indeed a actual salesperson. So if you're not moving your product, your business doesn't do very much. So I think we can all relate to that. So starting off with top 10, the number 10 is maximizing all of your sales channels. Now, I think when we consider sales channels, we often think of my e-commerce and my tasting room and my wine club. And that might be about it. But all of your sales channels may not be all within your four walls. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Keeping your online store up to date with new products and beautiful imagery is so important. I can't tell you how many times I cruise through different websites, especially if I am shopping for wine, and it's just a couple of bottle shots and that's it. And there may only be 2 or 3 products in there. That is not an exciting shopping experience online. And I think in 2020, we have all learned the value of interesting shopping online. So you really want to consider all the things that lured you in to buy whatever it was you ordered online over the last year. What made you go ooh and ah, and think of ways you can actually put that into practice on your own wine shopping site as well. So investing in high quality photography is definitely one way to go about it. I can't preach enough about how beautiful imagery will set the stage for the sale. And then on site, you might also want to consider doing really attractive product displays on your sales floor. Anything that you can do to position that product in the mindset and image of how it could be used. Think about, a beautiful picnic scene, or around the holidays, how is it going to look coming out of the box or set up on a beautiful tablescape for the holidays. All of those things really do influence your consumers, whether it's online or on site. Using supporting retail products is also key. I think a lot of that gets missed on the online shopping experience. And it's the same thing you would do in your tasting room. Some really nice, maybe some plate, glassware, supporting products, that all kind of go around the wine lifestyle. Your beautiful retail rooms should also show up on your beautiful websites. So definitely when you get to the shopping cart or even just, where you list your products on your website, take a peek at it and say, does this really make me want to buy anything? And that's kind of one thing I think would definitely help so many people and make their websites just pop with buying attention. Identifying hidden sales channels is really important. So as I mentioned, there's always your shopping cart, your online shopping cart, your tasting room, and your wine club, all important channels. But you might have other sales channels you haven't really considered. Look to your partners and vendors that might have sales opportunities, replacement opportunities. SellerPass does have that, and a lot of our clients are starting to clue into that. So whether they're doing virtual events or partnering with us to do a SellerPass TV episode, which is shot right here in this studio that you're seeing, we have the opportunity to sell product. And so our goal is to help you sell more wine. I know we're probably not the only ones out there, but definitely look at all of the opportunities you might have in and around what you do. And thinking of outside the box, you might look at your tour operators that you work with, hotels, Airbnbs, anywhere that you can work with, that you can do placements or suggestive selling, like, click, order wine to be delivered to your Airbnb. How cool would that be? So there's some really different avenues you guys can take to increase your sales all around. So definitely some great ways to go with it. And then offering co-branded experience as well. So when you're thinking the hotels, Airbnbs, your tour operators, doing things that, benefit both parties is definitely key to success. And just a reminder to all of those that are watching currently, you can type in questions right in the chat. We will answer your questions, so don't hesitate. So if there's something you need us to repeat or have a question, just shoot it out there. We will answer you. All right, so speaking of sales channels, the one that I think is the huge elephant in the room is the virtual vertical. And this is something that actually has been around for a long time, probably well over a decade, but it took until 2020 for the wine industry to really give it a lot of attention, and it kind of forced the subject, as we all know. So this is a fantastic way to, number one, reach more consumers more often. You cannot possibly meet and greet every single possible new consumer on your sales floor, even if there were no restrictions. This is a fabulous way to get into markets coast to coast or even internationally, to be right into their homes and businesses. So don't ignore the fact that the virtual vertical, not only did it explode, it's definitely here to stay. Acquiring new consumers and potential guests. So again, your acquisition of new consumers is something you should always be focused on. If you're not building new consumers, you're not keeping your potential sales flowing. That's just a basic sales and business numbers game. You're going to lose customers for whatever reason, especially as our boomers are getting older. We know that wine drinking generation is just buying less wine. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we've hammered it so many times over the last few years, but that generation is growing older. It's a fact of life. So many times their incomes are shifting. They're now on fixed incomes. They're on medication, other issues that just, change their lifestyle. So that definitely is reality. But that doesn't mean that you can't keep building a really great clientele. You just have to really focus on always acquiring new and qualified consumers. Virtual is a great way to do that when you can't have people come right into your tasting room 100% of the time. Plus, not all of your consumers can visit you all of the time. So you might have really great consumers in New York and Texas and Florida, all these other places, and you're in California. Well, they're probably only going to be able to see you once or twice a year if they're that lucky. So consider that. And promoting a virtual tasting for every single club shipment. This is really important. Your club members love you. And how cool is it to be able to pop into a open that box night, everybody has their shipment, and get them to open those bottles and go through a tasting with them. Also, it's a great opportunity to do a reorder special right then and there. So, you want them to open their wines, you want them to reorder those wines. So a really fantastic way to reach your club members, keep them engaged with you when they are not there at the tasting room with you. And one thing that I know a lot of wineries have tapped into, but not clearly enough, is the team building and corporate rewards sector. So this is huge on the virtual side of things. I've seen virtual events upwards of 10,000 attendees and copious amounts of wine sales going into these, just working with local corporate groups. And if you're in California, you've got the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, you've got a ton of corporate opportunity. And so I would definitely consider, reaching out to those businesses sooner than later. So I know it sent a lot of people scrambling last year towards the holidays, where a lot of these corporate groups were looking for corporate gifting, some of their rewards, end of year rewards, which typically would be travel, and they can't travel. And they really turned to the wine industry going, this is amazing. So reach out earlier and start setting up some programs that could be part of their HR onboarding, and then also building into their seasonal and holiday gifting. So always some great ideas there. And then talking about how often to do virtual. Virtual can be kind of exhausting. I won't lie. It's not always easy to create engaging content and do it on a regular basis. But once you kind of have a recipe for what works for your brand, then we recommend creating a series, because nothing could be more true or less true in the statement of one and done when it comes to virtual. If you just do one event and that's it, chances are it's not really going to work for you. Consumers really are looking for a consistent pace of, oh, it's a series of 3 or 4, so that they can either participate in all of them, or maybe they missed the first one and they know you're going to have another one. Once you build cadence in a history of these experiences, it just helps you get better and better, but it also lets your consumers know all over the place that these are going on. And when I attend, I might love it so much that I want to tell my friends, oh my gosh, I did this one virtual experience with this property. Love them. They partnered up with a really great food purveyor, and we did a cook-a-thon at home, or whatever it happens to be. So it helps your guests start being able to do the referral and the social marketing for you when you have a series. And on that note, don't go it alone. Please, for the love of wine and all things that are holy, don't go it alone. Nothing is more boring than a talking head. Yeah, talking about wine and the oakiness, and how long it was on the lees and all these things. What your consumers really want is an experience at home. And so look at those culinary partners. There are so many meal kit companies, restaurants, food purveyors that are happy to partner and ship out, complimentary products that work with your wines and be on camera with you, so that they can talk about, their products, and you can talk about your products, how they work together. Anything that's interactive in any way, shape, or form. You can do a pizza night. You can do so many different things. That's what brings the excitement. I have seen some great examples of this, from lobster dinners to grilling nights being partnered up with like 5 Dot Ranch and Snake River Farms. All of these companies out there were like, yes, this is a perfect fit. And so the wineries that had the light bulb go off were like, this actually works really well. It's not that hard to do. It does take a little bit of coordination, but mostly, the food products get shipped from the food company and the wine gets shipped from you. And at the end of the day, the customer gets everything right in their home, and it makes it so very easy. And it doesn't have to be just food and wine. So think about all of the affinity categories that your wine consumers would fall into. So wine accessories are also great. I've seen Corvin partnerships, really good for those super expensive Cabernets that you probably don't want to open 4 of on a vertical tasting night. So again, showcases the benefit of like a Corvin or something like that. So like, not only do they get to taste your wines, but they don't have to open all the bottles. Glassware. So there's a lot of budding sommeliers out there, and so they are looking to collect glassware, build their collection. So you can look at it a bunch of different ways. Wellness, beauty, and fashion are also great options. And then, of course, you're engaging in what we call the Seller Pass TV audience, but the online virtual audience. There are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of eyeballs in this country alone that are looking for exciting online experiences. So don't forget about that. And Molly has shared with us a little bit of information. Molly?
Yes. So when we decided to do this webinar with Seller Pass, we took a look at our clients' data, and we found out that only 7% of our clients are currently offering virtual tasting. And we cover a large market of wineries, so different states, different regions. So it really kind of reflects the wine industry in and of itself. But that 7% made $765,000 of extra revenue that they haven't made in previous years. Yeah,
that was just money sitting on the table.
Totally.
So you should definitely be thinking of doing it. It's a great way to boost your revenue.
Yeah, we had one larger winery make $150,000 in just 1 month.
That is fantastic. We saw that with one of our clients that introduced curbside really early on. And I think that was in April last year. So that's when things were looking pretty grim. And they ended up bringing in almost $200,000 in 1 week just doing curbside. That's so not unlike, virtual. It was just a completely different way of going about it.
Yeah.
And then shocker, here we go.
So a lot of us think that virtual tasting really happened in like 2020 and like July and that time frame, but it's actually growing and it's continuing. So January was the biggest month we've ever seen for people buying the kits. So like the whole bundles of the virtual wine tasting,
Oh
and
yeah.
people buy that after you do the virtual, right? Like
Oh yeah,
maybe they watch
they keep it
Yeah.
going. And I definitely recommend, making wine easy to buy, doing the kits is really important. Removing the barriers, if it's just, click and done, they're happy to do it. And I definitely see consumers buying up the kits again and again after they've done it. Sometimes they have so much fun doing it online with you, then they want to kind of recreate that at home with some of their friends, maybe another week. So, kind of consider that you make it easy for them to recreate some tasting experiences right in home.
Yes.
And it's all, it's all about how people feel. So one thing I want to really talk about here for a minute is really the psychology of the sale in general. So, sales, when we purchase things, it's 100% driven by emotion. I mean, that is the end of the day. That is what makes us want to buy anything, including that pack of gum at the convenience store. In some way or another, our emotion will be like, yeah, I feel good about this, or I don't feel good about it. If I don't feel good about it, I'm not going to buy it. Now, when we're talking about a lot of other purchases, rationalization or logic can very easily be a big driving point. So let's think about food. I need food. That's a given. I'm going to buy food. Now, what kind of food I buy might be driven by some other components, trust in the brand or how it makes me feel. Same thing with like a car or transportation. The average car consumer starts off with a brand they trust, so rapport. Secondly, they have their list of things that they need. I need it to have 4 wheels, usually, and I want it to be able to get me there, be safe, and maybe have a few creature comforts. I need a truck or I need a car. But at the end of the day, 98% of consumers who buy cars always make the decision on the one that makes their heart flutter just a little. And that could be because it was a little sporty or it had some luxury options that just made them go, ooh. And that's the emotion side of it. These are all great things to know, and emotional selling is hot topic. I mean, if you just search it online, you will find course after course that really teaches you how to work on emotional selling, and expand your sales potential, and also have happier customers in general. But we're talking about wine, and the reality of wine is nobody needs it. I mean, we can try to rationalize it all we want, but it's not a life or death situation for any of us. So it is a luxury item that makes us feel good. So rationalization and logic kind of goes way, way out the door. So you really have to focus on the emotion. And that starts with your 5 points of the sale. This is a tried and true approach to sales that has been around for, I'll probably say, hundreds of years, but really is the pillars of sales success. You will see this alive and well in retail operations all over the place, and you probably don't necessarily know it unless you've come from some retail backgrounds, which you might. But number one is greet your guest. The emotion selling begins and ends with number one. And you walk in and someone kind of looks up and is like, oh, great, you're here. Somebody will be here in a minute. Talk about disappointing. So you want to greet your guests warmly. They are your guests. Come in. We're happy to see you. I know with COVID, that has changed a little bit how people can, obviously engage with you. We're kind of out the door with handing them a initial splash of wine and letting them kind of wander. We get that. But you definitely want to make them feel very warm and welcome. Once they're there and you've greeted them and they're feeling good, it's your turn, host, to be the storyteller and practice active listening at the same time. This is your time to talk about the brand, the property, the wines that you're featuring in front of them, and engage in productive, purposeful conversation where you're gleaning information about your guest so that you can sell wine to them in a way that makes sense for them personally. Are they a collector? Are there any wines they gravitate towards? Did one of the guests mention that they were almost out of Chardonnay? Those are all key components that you should pick up on. So when you get to step 3, which I will say is the number one most missed step in all of these all over the wine industry, is asking for the sale. You have a almost guaranteed, it's in the high 90 percentile win on a sale if you ask for it. Consumers aren't coming to your tasting room necessarily just to come drink some, a couple splashes of wine and leave. They know they're in a sales environment. They know that you sell wine. that's what you need to do to make money. So if you ask them for the sale, what would you like to take home with you today? What was your favorite wine? That prompts them to be like, oh yeah, I'm now in the buying mood. But remember, there's also that storytelling and active listening that we did talk about. So upsells and suggestive sells are really, really important. So after the guest has made maybe their first selection, you might remember, oh, you were mentioning you were almost out of Chardonnay. We didn't taste it today, but let me show you this beautiful product that we have. And we actually have a special on it, or we have a three bottle package that is only available right here in the tasting room. So again, really remembering what your guest was talking about, engaging with them, building the rapport and that trust. And finally is your wine club membership. And when my retail days, I would always replace this with the store credit. So I just swap it for wine club membership these days in the industry that we are all in. But that is exactly what it is. It's that now loyalty. Well, did you have a great time? Did you know about our wine club? You'll save 30% off your purchase today for being a member. Here's all the benefits of membership. And the bonus, step 6, we lied, not 5, 6, is always asking for a referral to their friends or anybody else who they think that would enjoy this experience. For you as the host, you're really kind of in a concierge level position where you want to cultivate these clients and clientele, and nothing is more powerful than a personal recommendation from one friend to another. Seated tastings. This is something that we have seen transition in the wine industry heavily over the last 6 years, roughly. And the seated tastings are a force to be reckoned with. Number one, you have a dedicated educator, typically one-on-one with the guests. So you're getting more face time because these are slower experiences, typically 90 minutes in length. So you have that time to really engage with your customer versus a belly up to the bar situation where they're kind of get 3 sips and then out the door they go. No, they've taken the time to be there, to take in the whole experience that you have to offer, your property, the scenery, everything you guys have spent so much time and effort providing. This is your dedicated time to work with those guests. And I highly recommend that you personalize these experiences whenever possible. So this really goes to that emotion side of things, as I was talking about. So if you can personalize with either a welcome board that has the guest name on it, perhaps some printed menus for the tasting that has their names on it, or if you can even go the full length of tailoring the wine selections to the guest preferences, if you have that kind of information, goes a long, long way. Now they feel even more emotionally vested. So you're developing that emotion and that rapport, and they will start to rationalize why they can afford more wine. It increased your guest loyalty and frequency, truly. So when they're having a great time, they go back and they tell their friends, oh, we sat in the beautiful cabana. This time, next time, we might do the underground lunch pairing. So there's always something new for them to come back and see. But they feel so comfortable with you and your team that they want to. You become the number one thought when they're thinking wine country. And of course, we cannot say it again, get referrals for their friends and family, invite them to invite their friends to come back with them, and offer to schedule their next return visit before they leave. One thing that I think keeps getting missed in the wine industry is this concept of the experience doesn't have any value. And we see that because this whole concept of, well, we comp just because they signed up for the wine club, or we comp for this and we comp for that. Your experiences today are not the experiences they were 30 years ago or even 20 years ago. Today, these are luxury, high-end experiences that have been carefully curated. That most of the time are tailored to suit individual parties and come with a very attentive concierge level service. The wine tasting experience today is a whole new ballgame and is valuable. It is like going to Disney World. You wouldn't go to Disney World, pay the admission, and get comped your admission just because you spent $200 on concessions. No, it's just not going to happen. And not to make it, the Disneyland approach, necessarily to wine, but your experiences are truly entertainment. It is, it's like a nice dining experience at this point. So do keep in mind that your experiences do have value, and you can't necessarily just be throwing that money right back out the window just because they bought wine. You're going to have to start looking at different ways to retain that value and still give something a little bit for them. So considering things like a courtesy credit that may not be the same amount as the experience itself, but is still a lovely gesture that makes your guests feel delighted and happy that they're getting a little something back. Underperforming wines, look, we all know they exist. Molly can attest to that. And it can be for a whole bunch of different reasons. It can be because you simply just made way too much. It could be due to poor visibility, which typically is not positioned well on the website, and maybe not even in the tasting room itself. So you definitely want to think of ways, how can we reposition this? Using your wine club as a clearinghouse to get rid of all the stuff that maybe isn't selling so great on the website, it's probably not the best idea. I do see it happen, but I don't recommend it. But you can look at things differently. Re-educate your staff on a particular wine that maybe it's not moving as well. You might find out that they actually themselves don't know enough about it. And to do this in creative ways, thinking of like maybe a sensory experience or cooking class with the team to do team building and get them excited about this wine. It's a total win-win. Then when your staff is working with guests, they're going to remember, oh my gosh, we had this amazing cooking class and we made feta and tomato pasta that was off the charts and it was stunning with this particular wine. Now your consumers are like, and your guests are like, oh, that sounds great. I want to make that same dish and obviously take this wine home with me. So really great ways to do that. Marketing campaigns built to highlight the unique qualities, bundles with another popular wine. So using a leader product to move one that's not so popular is also really smart. Using as a gift with purchase or purchase with purchase for volume sales. You buy 6 bottles or more, and for $1, you're going to get a bottle of this wine. And thinking outside of your tasting room. So this is things where you want to look at maybe some placements with hotels, Airbnbs, be the featured wine amenity in some local hotel rooms. Fantastic by the glass programs that might be able to help you move this wine a little bit more. And then think of all the ways that you can leverage those positions to drive traffic right back to your tasting room. That could be just keeping a little bit of information on the tasting sheet that's at the restaurant or hotel that talks about your property, a QR code that goes to booking, doing a little necker if it's an in-room amenity, again, that has the same information. All kinds of fun things you can do there. And we did talk briefly about the power of packages. So much like putting a very popular wine with a less popular wine to help move that is also good. The power of packages on your website has got to be huge. I know I'm very swayed online when it comes to seasonal packaging and how things are set up. Like, oh, this is the spring collection and this is the fall collection. And it's like put into these beautiful imageries that put me in that mood. I'm like, oh yes, I'm all about ready for summer now. And that little tote bag looks amazing. Yes, I'll buy that product that I don't really need right now, just so I can get that tote bag. If it works on me, it's going to work on millions of other people. And it should definitely work for your wine consumers too. But this goes into using those retail accessories. So packaging up wine with other items, be it food, wine accessories, fashion, all things that kind of make it more exciting. Like this is our spring, tasting kit. This is our spring getaway kit, whatever it happens to be, making sure that that is on your website and it looks great and it is seasonally updated is huge. Making it easy, impulse buy purchases, bundles all ready to go. Think of instant case packs, 6 of this, 3 of that, and 3 of the other thing, all in one click. I know I spend a lot of time online, especially when it comes to wine shipping or wine buying. Most of the time it's, going through the reds and then click, 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 and then getting to the cart and then updating it. I'll be honest, there's a lot of websites, wine websites specifically, that make it really difficult to adjust the quantities once you get to the cart. And that's typically where a consumer stops and then reevaluates what they're going to buy. I'm queen of one of everything, get to my shopping bag or my cart and then look at it. And then I'm going to take 4 of this, 3 of that and build my shipment. And there are times where it's like every single one has to be updated and then it times out. It's a mess. So really for you, think about how your consumers probably navigate your website. Think of how you navigate other websites and if there's anything you can take from that. And then being able to create incentives to visit and purchase more often is keeping it fresh and exciting. Molly, what do you see on your side with consumers and how they behave?
Well, I would have to say that we see a big influx of people doing kits for the holidays, But like you're saying, like it doesn't have to end there. Using
No.
this any season, using any time to create a bundle that would entice people to shop is just going to help you increase your order values overall, because people are more inclined to buy a bundle if they think, even if they're going to save like 5%,
Right. It
instead of
doesn't have to
buying
be
each
big.
one individual. Yeah, like I will buy the kit if I'm going to save like $2 compared to just trying to buy all the wine.
It's true. It's true. It's making it easy and giving them just a little incentive. And that could be a slight discount in the pricing. That could be other products. So saying, retail accessories, you could have a beautiful, sensory experience that has different candles and wine. And, gift giving isn't just Christmas time. I know we tend to think that, but there's birthdays and anniversaries and just because days. And also sometimes we just want to feel special for ourselves. So when I'm ordering wine to have shipped at home, it's nice to be like, oh, this one included some really great recipes and, some truffle salt or something to play with. So really
Totally.
different, ways to think about it. But the consumer, that's what they're looking for. Number 3, care, listen, and respond. But mostly this really talks about all that birthday date data that you guys have. And there is no other industry that can so easily collect this information. But this industry does not use it. I get birthday wishes from beauty companies, retail, restaurants, car wash companies, you name it. They somehow have my information, but I get almost zilch from the myriad of wine databases that I happen to be in. And I think that's kind of a huge shortcoming in the industry. As wine, we collect birth dates almost every single time somebody walks onto your website. Let's be real, it's gated. Whether that person's entering the real age or not remains to be seen, but they might if they knew they were going to get something out of it. But mostly if they've purchased with you, you can cultivate that information. You're looking for the month and the day, right? Obviously they need to be 21, it helps. But send them out a little birthday message, about 2 weeks prior to their birthday. Happy birthday, we're thinking of you. But for your birthday month, we'd like to give you 10% off or free shipping, or come in for a complimentary, birthday tasting. Invite your friends and have your party here, bring 4 friends and celebrate. This is an opportunity for you to, utilize this data that you're all sitting on and turn it into cash in your tasting room sales. I mean, why not? Really great way to do it. And do you have the ability to collect and tag customers in your databases? So I know through SellerPass, we have guest tags and features to really make it easy to flag birthdays and things like that in our system. And I'm sure VenSuite also has tools for you to use. Miss Molly.
Oh, yes. I mean, you can use birthdays. You can group them by location. You can do anything, but yeah, you can send email campaigns easily.
Perfect. And that's, to make it easy, number one, on the winery to do this is key. And then it makes the consumers feel warm and special. I mean, I think it'd be great if I got, come in for a, complimentary, toast for your birthday. Yes, I will be there. That is awesome. Number 2, giving your staff the tools they need to succeed. And this really comes into your website, your point of sale processes, all of it. If you don't already have a mobile POS for your platform, get it. And if they don't have one, get another platform. This is key. You cannot expect your consumers to get up and come to the cash register to complete their sale at the end of their tasting experience. That is gone. I mean, that's just not how people work anymore. So equipping your hosts with a mobile device that they can start the sales while they're still engaged in the tasting is key. And I know VenSuite does have this. And really looking at ways that you can improve that process. Molly and I were talking yesterday about, what can, tasting rooms easily do? One might be rearranging your products in your POS display that starts with your top selling products first. And some of those bundles we talked about for your website should also show up as quick sale items at the POS. So it's just click one mixed case. That is like the most common lineup of products. Everything that just speeds it up faster, faster, faster. I definitely recommend creating mock scenarios with your team on the sales floor, trying to mimic your busiest day you can imagine. Start streaming that Pandora. Have HR run, some crazy HR reports in the back office. Strain your internet and get a bunch of people, connecting to your Wi-Fi and, Snapchatting their little hearts out. All of that will give you kind of an idea of the drain of internet has, because bandwidth is a commodity you can't afford to be without, because everything runs off of it. Your POS, your e-commerce, just, your credit card processor. So if that's dipping down, it's going to slow down your production. So definitely look at that. Make sure you have enough hardware, tablets, printers, all of that for your staff on a busy day. The last thing you need is people having to be held up on completing their checkout because Timmy still has the POS over on the other side of the tasting room. Not ideal. Identifying areas that you can improve your processing. So we did talk about rearranging categories. Molly, what do you have as some tips and takeaways?
Yeah, so we have something that we call event categories, which are great for the tasting room. And you can put like your tasting flights, you can put your top items, and you can put anything you really want to push right there. So it's just sticky on the main menu. Then I would also suggest automated discounts, right? If you know that you want to discount something or you're going to provide discounts for something, automate it. Like, don't take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's just, if it's going to happen, make it happen. Wine club sign up. I think that's another big one, and making it as simple and streamlined as possible. I know with Seller Pass in our integration, we pass customer data back to your POS platform initially. So that guest's, name, email address, phone number, all the basics are already sitting and waiting there for you to use. So you don't have to re-key it in, which is very important.
It's a huge lifesaver.
Yeah. And so like looking at ways you can, cut out an extra 30 seconds, or worse yet, incorrect data. It's one thing to be, working with data that the guest entered themselves versus trying to type it in. And then you find out that you accidentally typed their email address wrong or something. So, cutting out any room for error and speeding it up is going to help out, because once the consumer is ready to buy, they don't want to linger very much longer. They want to get that wine in their car and off to their next destination as quickly as possible. So help them and help yourself out, and be able to give yourselves a little extra breathing room to reset for the next group of guests that you're going to be greeting.
Yeah, I would also say always grab email addresses. If you have the option to email receipt and capture that email address, grab it.
Do it. Absolutely. Data collection is key. So if you're not already using different methods to do that, reservations, which happens to be our very next and last number one way to help increase your sales, is a fantastic way of doing that. Reserving online is very difficult to do without an email address. They still need to get their confirmation email. Consumers are very eager to provide it because they know that, I'm providing this so I can get my confirmation and I can log in and I can manage my reservations. And we have been preaching this for well over a decade, but I guess it took till Silicon Valley Bank started echoing it not that long ago, that a reserved guest is 2.5 times more or is going to spend 2.5 times more than a walk-in guest. That's on average. That's huge. This is definitely, reserved guests are just, they're better quality guests. They are planning, they are taking the time to engage with you in advance. And reservations also provide your team the unique opportunity to develop that rapport with the guests before they arrive. So you can actually look at your reservations in advance and start reaching out to your guests before they get there. Find out what their preferences are. Find out if there's a special occasion of why they're visiting. All of this is the clienteling side of things that will make their experience even more memorable once they're on site. So definitely don't ignore the power of reservation. Plus, it also helps you manage your flow and kind of know what's happening on your property before it happens. So I say go for it. Molly, what do you think when it comes to reservations and also the POS that wineries can be doing to improve their sales?
Well, reservations give you so much insight into what your clients are hoping to taste. If they book a flight, then you know already kind of what to upsell them, and you can use that to already push that in the tasting room. You have a better understanding of who's coming to visit you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's giving you that edge that, a walk-in guest, you're like, okay, we're starting from ground zero, but you're not starting from ground zero. So, and then you can start, as your guests start booking with you more and more, you'll see their history of what do they typically book. So have they done your standard tasting? Maybe it's time to call them up and say, hey, did you know we have this reserve experience that you might be interested in this time around? Change them from one experience to another to just make it different and special for them. But you're right, you're going to have even more opportunity to really tailor that experience towards your guest, just through the art of reservations. It's super simple. And I don't see enough wineries actually taking this data that they have sitting in front of them and using it for that purpose. I hear, we're a high touch winery all the time, but when I ask, okay, well, have you contacted all the guests that booked, last week that aren't coming in for a month? No. Do it.
You put all this data, you build these customer profiles with all this data. You can segment it, you can target, you can do all this stuff. So
yep, it's there for your use and your selling pleasure. So we highly recommend it. If you have any questions, we are here to answer them for you. I see that there's a lot of viewers out there, not a lot of questions. So let's talk about what can we do for you? If there's any suggestions we can make, shoot them out there. We will definitely give you our feedback. And then we also wanted to talk about some prizes. So don't see any chats coming in yet, but we did want to go over what we talked about today. So all of this information is good, solid sales information. It's tried and true approaches that not only apply to wine, but have actually been applied in industries all over and definitely are alive and well on the luxury retail side of things. So consider that with your team and really look at ways you can apply some or all of these techniques to give yourself the best selling season ever. And with that, it's trivia time. So can you name the 5 points of the sale that we talked about? All the entrants will be tallied up and we will select one lucky winner from that for a very exciting prize, which is a complimentary Seller Pass TV episode. So we're really excited to hear your answers. So if you remember just a few minutes ago, the 5 points of the sale, let's get them in here. Molly, do you have anything else to send our guests away with today?
I mean, the only thing I can really push is if you're using a system, make sure you're gathering that data. That data is so powerful. And so make sure that you have something that you can see it all together in one place.
Absolutely. And that's one of the great things with our systems and the way they talk is that we do Seller Pass sends the guest information over to VenSuite. And at the end of the day, we can actually send the completed reservation back to VenSuite as an order. So in VenSuite, you can see a 360 view of your guest, what they've bought, what tasting experiences they've booked, and you can run your reporting right from that platform. So trying to cut out, the back and forth of using different systems for different things. It's not the way to go. Yes, make your life easier. And all right. Well, we are coming down to the end of our webinar time. So that flew by. But we want to send you more and better qualified guests. So if you have questions about VenSuite, Seller Pass, or what wine you should probably serve with dinner next week, let us know. You can contact myself. Information is right here below, and of course Molly. And we are happy to chat with you. But we really hope you guys have a fabulous Wednesday, and that you're gearing up for the fabulous spring and summer season. So cheers to all of you. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.